They called it the Day of Peace. But for Zira, it was the day she came back to kill the man who burned her world. The morning sun blazed over the coastal kingdom of Abonji, casting golden light over the palace steps where King Oduro stood tall in his silk robes. 1,000 voices chanted his name. The town square below was packed, market women, soldiers, children climbing shoulders to see the monarch. Musicians played. Drums pounded. Dancers spun in colors. Everything smelled of roasted goat, palm oil, and too much perfume. Zira moved silently through the crowd, one hand tucked under the long shawl draped over her shoulder, the other gripping the handle of a hidden blade. She wore a fisherwoman's wrapper, faded and torn at the edges. Her feet were bare. No jewelry. Nothing that would glint in the light. Her hair was tied up roughly, like any other peasant woman trying to get close enough to see the king. But her eyes were burning, focused, hollow, dry. Not a single tear in them. She hadn't cried in 7 years. Not since the night her village, Botoro, was set on fire while they slept. Not since King Oduro's guards slaughtered her family because a rebel had once hidden among them. Her mother. Her brothers. Her baby niece. Burned alive for a crime they didn't commit. The king had never apologized. Never looked back. But today he would feel it. Zira moved closer. The crowd swayed, singing louder. She stepped in sync with the dancers, weaving into the open lane that curved up the royal dais. A few guards watched lazily, more concerned about thieves and pickpockets than a barefoot woman. That's when the music stopped. The king raised a hand. Today, we celebrate peace, he boomed, his voice smug and deep. And we remind the world that Abonji bows to no man, no spirit, no rebellion. We stand. He never finished. Zira lunged. Her shawl dropped as she burst forward, leaping onto the raised dais. 1 heartbeat. 2. Then, steel flashed. The blade buried deep into King Oduro's side. He gasped. Looked her in the eyes. Recognition flickered, but too late. Blood sprayed across the steps as the crowd screamed. A trumpet shattered the silence. Guards froze. Then chaos erupted. Zira didn't wait. She yanked the blade free and sprinted down the opposite side of the platform, pushing through the panicking crowd. Shouts of "Assassin! The king is bleeding" echoed everywhere. A child wailed. A woman fainted. But Zira didn't look back. She had one chance. She ducked into an alleyway between 2 buildings, her legs already aching. Her bare feet slapped the cobblestones. Somewhere, bells rang, warning bells. She kept moving. Down narrow streets. Over baskets of spilled yams. Past the butcher who dropped his knife in shock. Through a tailor's yard. Into a courtyard full of drying fish. Soldiers were coming. Zira burst into a stable, breathing hard. A young stable boy stared at her, wide-eyed. "I didn't see you," he whispered. She nodded once, grabbing a long piece of cloth to bind the knife to her waist. Then she ran again. Down toward the docks. The port of Abonji was alive with shouts, sails, and seagulls. Men loaded cargo onto wooden boats. Children played near the water's edge. Zira spotted a small canoe, tied loosely to a piling. It wasn't much, but it would float. She reached it, untied the rope with shaking fingers, and heard the scream. "There! She's there!" 5 royal guards charged toward her, blades drawn. Zira pushed the canoe into the surf and jumped in, grabbing the paddle. Arrows flew past her, one grazing her arm. She beat down on the pain. The ocean didn't care. She paddled hard, her body screaming, the canoe rocking under each wave. The guards reached the edge too late. One of them waded in after her, but stopped waist deep, on shore. Another threw a spear. It missed. And just like that, Zira disappeared into the sea. It was hours later when she woke. The sun had started to fall, casting red light over the endless water. Her canoe bobbed gently, far from land. Her arms were raw. Her lips cracked. Her hands shook from exhaustion. But she was alive. And the king had bled. Zira lay back, staring at the sky. For the first time in years, she allowed herself a memory, her mother laughing as she carved fish, her youngest brother dancing badly during the moon festival, her father's proud voice telling her she was stronger than any storm. She blinked it away. This wasn't over. The king might be dead. Or maybe not. But even if he lived, he would remember her name. And if he died, the kingdom would want her head even more. There was no going back. Only forward. She reached into the hidden pouch tied to her side and pulled out a tiny wooden pendant, shaped like a fishhook. It was old. Burnt at one corner. All she had left from Botoro. Zira kissed it softly. I did it, Mama, she whispered. But now I have to survive it. In the distance, something rose, land. A rocky shore. Trees. Smoke. She grabbed the paddle again. Back at the palace, King Oduro screamed in pain as blood soaked the silk sheets of his private chamber. Captain Yuma stood by the bed, his jaw tight, ice cold. We've locked the port. Searched every boat. The queen sobbed nearby. She stabbed him in front of everyone. In front of the gods. Oduro gritted his teeth. Bring her to me, he rasped, veins bulging on his neck. Alive, or in pieces. Yuma bowed. Yes, my king. As he turned to leave, he muttered under his breath. She won't get far. The sea gives, but it also takes. The boat hit the rocks before she could stop it. Zira slammed hard against the side of the canoe as it scraped across the reef. Her body rolled, and the world twisted. She didn't scream. She couldn't. Salt water filled her mouth as the waves dumped her onto the shore like something broken. Her hands scraped against sharp coral. Her left ankle twisted the wrong way. Pain shot up her leg, and her throat burned from hours without water. She dragged herself across the sand with the last of her strength, coughing, bleeding, shivering. Then, darkness. When she woke, she was under a piece of tattered sailcloth, breathing in the scent of charcoal and boiled cassava. Her head throbbed. The fire beside her popped. And above her, two eyes watched, cold, steady, assessing. A woman sat cross-legged across the hut, arms folded. She looked about 40, with heavy brows and the kind of face that didn't smile easily. Her clothes were plain. Her hands were scarred. This wasn't a healer. This was someone who'd survived something too. You're awake, the woman said flatly. Zira tried to sit up. Her body screamed. She collapsed back down, groaning. I didn't carry you, the woman added. You washed up. Half dead. I almost left you there. Zira blinked, trying to focus. Where? North Coast. Outside Ajib town. Don't bother trying to thank me. I only pulled you off the tide because the vultures were already circling. You were ruining my fishing spot. Zira's lips parted in a cracked breath. Water. The woman tossed her a gourd. You bleed in my hut, you clean it. Zira drank greedily, water spilling down her chin. When she lowered the gourd, the woman was still staring at her. You look like trouble, the woman said. Worse than pirates. Zira didn't answer. You gonna tell me your name? No. Didn't think so. The woman stood and walked to the door. There's boiled yam in the pot. When you can walk, walk. This isn't a shelter. What's your name? Zira asked, her voice rasping. The woman looked back. Bina. Then she was gone. Zira stayed 2 days. Her ankle was bruised, not broken. Her arms were cut up and stiff, but she forced herself to move. She washed her wounds in salt water. Ate slowly. Said nothing. Bina never asked again. She just pointed to firewood, to fish nets, to a pile of cassava that needed peeling. Zira did it. Quietly. Like a soldier. But by the third night, the peace cracked. A voice echoed from outside the hut, "Any strangers come through here?" Zira froze. Bina didn't. She stepped outside and found 2 men, dirty uniforms, half-drunken eyes, and blades at their sides. Soldiers. Royal ones. Zira saw the red armbands. "You're far from the capital," Bina said. "We are far from a lot of things," the shorter soldier answered. "But we heard a boat came ashore. A single canoe. We are looking for the one who was in it." "Must have sunk," Bina said. The taller one leaned forward. "You alone out here?" "No. I live with my pet crocodile." "You want to meet him?" The men chuckled. But the shorter one tried to push past her. Bina grabbed his arm. "You don't go through a woman's home uninvited. You got something to hide? You got a search warrant." The soldier stared at her. "Didn't think so," Bina said. "Now get off my beach." Zira didn't breathe until they were gone. That night, she tried to say thank you. Bina shook her head. "Don't. Just don't get me killed." Zira left before sunrise. She couldn't stay. Not with soldiers crawling the coast. Not with bounties being posted. She'd heard enough whispers in town to know the king was still alive, and angrier than ever. She took one of Bina's old fishing knives and a sack of dried corn. Left her a net in return. Fair trade. The road north was dangerous. No cover. No friends. But Zira kept walking. She walked through mud, slept under trees, and once hid in a pit for hours while soldiers passed. Her legs ached. Her back burned. Her stomach curled from hunger. But she didn't stop. Because she had made the first cut, and now, she had to finish it. 5 days later, she reached a roadside outpost. The place was little more than a broken inn and a market stall, but there was food. People. Information. She kept her head down, hair wrapped tightly, pretending to be a traveling basket seller. She sold 2 for a few coins. 8 boiled groundnuts in the shadows. That's when she saw the boy. Young. No older than 15. Dirty shirt. Sharp eyes. He was watching her. He didn't speak, just sat across the dusty path, legs stretched, staring like he knew something. Zira ignored him. But that night, when she slipped behind the inn to sleep near the grain shed, he was there. "Your knife's too loud," he said. "Anyone half-trained could follow you." She turned fast, blade drawn. "Who are you?" "Name's Jeno," he said. "Don't worry, I'm not royal. I don't trust children. I don't trust murderers." Zira's eyes narrowed. "You know who I am. I know who they are looking for. And you fit the description, except they said the assassin was taller." She lowered the knife slowly. "What do you want?" Jeno grinned. "To help. And maybe get paid later." "Paid with what?" "Not money. Stories." She frowned. He shrugged. "They banned my village, too. I want to see how yours ends." By morning, Zira had made a choice. She'd head inland, into the outlaw territories where the king's guards didn't patrol. It was dangerous. Lawless. But it was also the only place she could hide long enough to build a plan. And if she was going to finish what she started, she'd need more than a knife and a name. She'd need allies. Information. And time. As she walked beside Jeno through the dust road leading toward the hills, she glanced sideways at him. You run fast. Like lightning. You lie. Only when I have to. Still. Whatever you need. She nodded. Good, she said. Stay close. Don't get me caught. Don't slow me down. Jeno smirked. Or what? I'll leave you in a ditch. He laughed. Fair enough. That night, as they camped in the woods under a crescent moon, Zira didn't pray. She didn't whisper to the stars. She didn't wait for a sign. She just sharpened her blade. A soldier might have survived the stab. A kingdom might tighten its grip. But this time, she wouldn't aim for the ribs. This time, she was coming for the throat. The border was nothing but an invisible line, but everyone knew when they'd crossed it. Gone were the dusty roads and scattered villages of Abonji. In their place, broken fences, half-burned farmlands, and men who carried blades at their waist without hiding them. These were the outlaw territories, no royal guards, no taxes, no rules. Just violence. Zira adjusted her pack and glanced at Jeno. The boy kept up without complaint, but he had started glancing behind them more often. He felt it too. The air had changed. Out here, everyone was both hunter and prey. They passed the hanging tree on their second day. No leaves. Just a rope swinging in the breeze. Nobody, just the whisper of what had been. Jeno stopped. What do you think they did? Zira didn't slow. Doesn't matter. We keep moving. They made it to a camp buried deep in a gully, hidden behind thorn hedges and mud huts built into the earth. It wasn't a village. It wasn't even safe. But it was home to people like her, those who had no place left to run. Zira stood at the edge of the entrance, her blade sheathed but her jaw tight. We don't talk much here, she told Jeno. We listen. We trade. We don't trust. The guard at the gate was a woman with half an ear and an iron spear. She studied Zira for a long moment, then nodded. Name, the woman asked. Zira thought for half a second. Rina. Reason. Work. The woman smacked. Ain't no work here but bleeding. Then I'll bleed well. She let them pass. Inside the camp, it felt like stepping into a different world. Fires burned in makeshift clay pits. Children with too much dirt and too little childhood played with sticks. Men sharpened blades while watching everyone like wolves. No one smiled. Zira found a corner, dropped her things, and sat. Jeno did the same. He whispered, "These people don't blink. They survive too much to blink." A man passed them with a missing hand. Another had a scar that split his face like cracked wood. This was where war dumped its broken pieces. And she had chosen to join them. That night, Zira traded a basket for information. The man she spoke to was old, slow-talking, with one cloudy eye. Oduro's alive, he confirmed. But barely. He ain't been seen in public since the stabbing. Rumor says he walks with a cane now. Zira felt no joy. And his guards. Scouring the coast. They've been arresting anyone who so much as says your name. A few people have disappeared. Quietly. No trials. Zira stared into the fire. He's scared. Good. But scared kings are the most dangerous. They stayed in the camp for 3 days. Zira trained with sticks and stones, then moved on to blades again. Jeno watched everything, how people moved, who they avoided, where food came from. He wasn't just tagging along. He was learning. On the 4th day, trouble came. A man named Kigo walked into camp. Tall, sharp-faced, with a deep scar down one cheek and a necklace made of bone. Zira noticed the way everyone stood straighter when he passed. The way some looked away. She didn't trust him the moment she saw him. Unfortunately, he saw her too. "You're new," he said, his voice slow like poison. Zira didn't answer. "You fight." "When I have to." "You have to." That night, they were summoned to the arena. The arena was nothing more than a pit surrounded by oil lamps and silence. Zira stood barefoot in the dirt, a dull training blade in her hand. Across from her, Kigo. He smiled. "Just a test," he said. "See if you belong." Zira didn't reply. She moved. They clashed. Fast. Brutal. No mercy. Kigo was stronger, heavier, but Zira was quicker. She ducked. She turned. She stabbed. He caught her arm. She elbowed his jaw. He laughed through the blood. The crowd cheered softly. No one shouted. Just as gleaming in the dark. Then he swept her leg. Zira hit the ground hard, the breath knocked out of her. Kigo raised his blade. And stopped. Zira's training blade was already pressed to his neck. "Looks like I belong," she said through gritted teeth. Later, Kigo sat by the fire with a bloody lip and a grin. "I like you," he said. "You bleed well." Zira nodded once. "What do you want?" He leaned in. "I hear you're not who you say you are. I hear you're the one who stabbed the king." Jeno tensed beside her. Zira didn't blink. "Who told you that?" "No one had to. The way you move, fight, you're not just surviving. You're aiming." Zira stayed quiet. Kigo chuckled. "Relax. I'm not a royal dog. I hate that tyrant more than you do. He executed my brothers for speaking out. Then why tell me this?" "Because you're dangerous. And I like dangerous people." The alliance didn't last. The next morning, Zira and Jeno woke to find their bag stolen, their water gone. Kigo was gone too. And a group of bounty hunters was waiting at the edge of the camp waiting for her. They attacked before dawn. Zira fought hard, her blade flashing in the grey light. Jeno threw stones, kicked knees, beat fingers. They held their ground for minutes. But the numbers were too many. Zira's shoulder was sliced. Jeno took a blow to the ribs. They fled. Through the thorns. Through the smoke. Through the fire someone had lit at the southern gate, Kigo's signature. Betrayal burned brighter than torches. By dusk, they were deep in the woods, bleeding, half-starved, bruised. Zira collapsed against a tree. Jeno fell beside her. Neither spoke for a long time. Finally, Zira whispered, "We trusted the wrong man." Jeno coughed blood. "We won't again. I should have killed him." "You will." She looked at the boy. He wasn't afraid anymore. Just angry. Hard. He had survived. And so had she. Zira leaned her head back against the back and stared at the sky. Tomorrow, they'd keep moving. Tomorrow, they'd find a new weapon. Tomorrow, they'd start the war.